G'day, g'day. How are you all going, Hex enthusiast and Tangent?
Yo,
hey man,
what's up?
Hey Tangent,
Yeah,
long time watcher.
Hey, how you going, man?
Never spoken to you, so yeah. No, you do some good stuff, man.
All good, man.
Thanks for the entertainment.
Thank you.
Awesome. There's always a first, and I've just cracked my first beer because it's a Friday Arvo, and why not?
Very cool.
But yeah, 43 OG can't be with us today, but Tangent, we've got him in the last minute. The ringer, he's come in to save the day and to help us out. So thanks for that.
So good.
I'm going.
And hopefully, that's it. That's the way. Let's get this party started.
I just got a homemade iced coffee delivered to me, so
oh, nice.
Pretty good.
You'll be pinging.
I've actually got coffee here as well.
Sweet.
I've also had coffee. All right. So yeah, look, there's been a lot happening, man. Like in the last week.
Oh yeah.
Like Liquid Loans has launched. There's heaps of shit going on. Price pumped. Price dumped. There's vulnerabilities in Web3. But yeah, like for us, like
so much stuff, man. So
Hexicans and people just
hectic.
Yeah, but because we're into crypto, it's kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. Like the shit's hit the fan again, big deal. Like, you know, so because we see so much carnage all the time, I think we're getting desensitized to it. Well, that's how I feel anyway.
The vulnerability was pretty wild.
Yeah, that is pretty
wild.
Yeah. I was going to try and get Base Radiant on and see if he could like explain it a bit, but maybe you could tell us what happened with that.
I actually didn't stay fully up to date with it, but I did see that Open Zeppelin someone made a tweet about their tweet or something like that, and I actually just tweeted out the TLDR on like how you know if your protocol, how you can quickly check if your protocol falls under the category that's vulnerable. So if you have a protocol or a project like an NFT project or any kind of protocol, you should read that and just assess whether your shit is vulnerable.
So this doesn't affect Hex and any of that stuff. This is just like people that use third web in their contract libraries and things.
Hex was never going to be vulnerable because Hex is actually a DeFi primitive. It does not rely on other libraries. But so Hex was like, I knew the entire time that Hex was okay, other than the contagion fallout that could happen if Web3 had a House of Cards style failure, then the price of Hex was probably going to get dragged down, just like what happened with FTX. Even assets that weren't on FTX got impacted. So I was only concerned from a price point of view, not from a code point of view with Hex.
Yeah, gotcha. And so, yeah, like you say, like because the liquidity bonding and things like that as well. So, but it seems like it was in particular to these third web contracts. So, and you know, a lot of people, I guess, for context, they use like boilerplate Open Zeppelin contracts for their coins and NFTs, I guess. Yep. So that's what happens. It's like if you're using some boilerplate thing, you know, you are at risk, I guess, of this sort of stuff happening. But overall, I think the price the price sort of action that we had, I was speculating that maybe it could have been a result of just whale games, like people playing around, like in terms of when the rest of like BTC crypto market was sort of going up, and in particular like PLS was going down and Hex, it was almost like either some like whales like rage quit, which is entirely possible, or they're just flipping their desk. It's like, fuck this. Because that's right, because the bridge and a couple of the IPFS things went down like for a while. But it didn't really bother us because you can still run that locally, right? Like, so you can still run the bridge locally, and we use Proteus as well, so it kind of bypasses a lot of that IPFS stuff.
Was there any worry with those Web3 stuff? Anything to do with the HSIs on the Hedron side? Anything there? I didn't see anything mentioned. But
I don't think so. No,
there's just a lot of talk around it just being NFT based.
I think there was the ERC 1155s.
Yeah, it needed to be. I'm just trying to find that tweet that I did.
But so HSIs are ERC 721s, I think. They're not the 1155s.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can. Bullish would actually be a good person to.
It needed to be a 2771.
Righto, I missed that bit. There we go. Yeah.
So that was the one. So they were deliberately vague with the details early on because they didn't want people to actually start, like bad actors, to start trying to use the exploit. So the way that they did their disclosures, they staged it in terms of who they contacted and how much information they released. So it's actually only very recently that we got the full picture of exactly how this vulnerability works and some examples. It did actually get used. So in that same article, in fact, I should have linked the article as well. I'll go and get it and I'll add it as a comment on that tweet so you guys can see that as well. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
G'day McNuggets. Shout out to McNuggets. He's a nice guy. I met him at the meetup. Him and his wife, they're legends.
Yeah, I had a few bevies with him. That was good. It seems like that exploit, was sort of taken care of like really responsibly. Like, you know, they only let out what, you know, when it was ready. There wasn't like a whole heap of FUD sort of starting off with it and just letting it out in the open. They sort of knew what they were dealing with for a while, so that was good.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the only frustration for projects that wanted to know, like genuine good actors wanting to know whether their things could be impacted or not, it would have been quite a stressful 48 hours or whatever trying to work out whether their stuff may or may not be vulnerable. But Bullish did an incredible job of staying in their Discord and just like making sure
he's amazing.
And he has cloned himself, hasn't he? He's got his own AI that works just for him. Because I don't know how he does it. That many hours he puts in, and he's just all over the place. It's crazy.
Yeah. He manages to actually hang out with the community while also getting so much stuff done. It's a skill set that I need to develop. He's tunnel vision. He's
an absolute don. Yeah, shout out to Bullish. He's a real asset to the community for sure. And shout out to Finbear. Going to feed the chickens. Why not? He's probably he's probably just.
Have you gotten rid of any roosters yet, Finbear? I saw he had like way too many roosters.
That's a euphemism, by the way.
No, he actually has chickens. He actually has chickens.
Oh, he actually has chickens.
Legit has chickens and too many roosters.
Sure? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm sure.
That's so funny.
Funny if it's that way, because that's pretty bad if it's while we're streaming. He's feeding the chickens.
Yeah, true. Stop. Well, the rooster, yeah.
Tan is here. So,
sorry, man. Your mic is really loud. Can you turn it down just a smidge?
Yeah.
Cheers, bro. I think it's
my audio's
or either that or I've got my
Seven's been telling me lately that my audio's been like crackling a bit, and I've changed nothing about my setup. I've got no idea.
I'll turn it down at my end as well, because I think I cranked it up. Because sometimes Hex Enthusiast makes these jokes, right? And I'll miss it, and then if I'm listening back to the stream later, I'll be like, oh, I actually missed your joke, so I've cranked up the audio now, and then I'm like, That
is the best type of joke, when people just kind of like slide it in with no deliberate attempt to draw attention to the joke. They're like the funniest jokes.
True.
Like, it slides by most people.
Yeah, that is true, and you only pick it up afterwards. I find that with a lot of streams, I guess, because I'm so wired when I'm talking. But speaking of being wired and trying to turn the ship around in terms of happy news, because we're the happy hour. Although, disclaimer: happy hour only means that drinks are half price, and possibly the Pulse price is half price.
It's got a little disclaimer, like you may not actually be happy during happy hour.
You may not be happy. Yeah, I cannot guarantee that we're going to be
name
happy.
Only.
Yeah,
that's right.
Holders might have been made happy a couple of hours ago.
I saw that they pumped, but no, I actually sold all my mint.
It did give up at least half of that pump already.
It has. Oh, now, it's right back down now.
Also, that loan token from the liquid loan sack, I don't think I sold that quick enough, because that dumped hard. Fuck, that dumped. But anyway, that was a shit show. But let's talk about
quote. I don't think I sold that fast enough.
Literally, we just couldn't get the finger on the button fast enough. But so one thing that has just come out that I'm pretty psyched about is Tetra has just released limit orders.
Hey, before we move on, I'm going to say that I'm a big fan of the protocol. Like, so I'm a big fan of liquid loans, not so much the price performance of the token. So true. But the protocol itself is working dope. Like, so it's functioning correctly. I don't think I wasn't implying that you were fudding. It's just I think those are two separate things, right? Like, I think what they built is really good and it will come in very handy. It's a useful tool. It's really good. It's the best I've seen as far as did we just lose? No. So it's the best that I've seen in terms of a liquidity fork implementation. And I've used them on various chains, and this is the best I've ever seen. So in that respect, I think they did really well.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, because that's a fair point. Like, I do think that they've done a really good job with the UI, and I'm stoked about the stability pool and all this sort of stuff. It was just, my comment was only on the SAC performance, like the loan token. But now, like, maybe loan is a good buy, like now that it's dumped. And to be fair, nearly every single SAC has dumped. So that's just, it is what it is, you know.
It's hard. Because it's fairly high emission. Like, if anyone who's in the LP pool or the stability pool will know that you're actually getting quite a lot of loan which is great. Like, it's great if you're on that side of it, right?
Gotcha.
Like, if you're one of the people that's staking in one of these pools, you're actually making quite a lot of loan token. But if people don't then take those loan tokens and actually stake them into the protocol, and if they're just continuously dumping it, then it's not great for the long-term health of the token.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, look, I mean, it's a really nice interface, and I did play with it on testnet and everything, and it seemed just seamless. So, but yeah, I suspect some whales and things are going to start to sort of, and I mean, but this already existed with Fame, right? Like when people had leveraged longs and leveraged shorts and things like that. So then the whales can always try and manipulate the market to try and get their longs or their shorts and things like that, you know. So whale games, like, whales are going to whale, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think so. The thing to note here, though, is because of that stability pool that has all the stables in it, this is slightly different from what happens in normal leveraged positions where people can liquidate them to manipulate the market. Because normally what happens when a long or a short gets liquidated, if it's leveraged, then they become forced buyers or sellers, right? Depending on which way around it was. Whereas in this, there's already a stability pool, and that's who buys the position. So whales can't. So even though unfortunately it's got the same name, right? Liquidation, which is where the confusion comes in, but they're actually two different processes. Like, the normal liquidations.
And then, so the people in the stability pool are the ones that profit from those when those vaults get liquidated. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say profit, but because it's like, it depends where the market goes after that. Like, if it keeps going down,
gotcha.
If it keeps going down, then it's really the people who got liquidated that are like benefiting.
Right.
So it's just basically that the PLS that was being used as the collateral changes hands in terms of like access from the person who had the loan to the people that are in the stability pool. And remember that it gets spread pro rata across everyone that's in the stability pool.
Yeah, true.
So for a whale to be like trying to do some kind of like game theoretical play, they would have to be a majority of the stability pool, which maybe some of them are, but even then it's like, I guess you could argue that if someone was a large enough percentage of the stability pool and they wanted to get, and they perceived that the general trend of the asset was going to go up or sideways and not down further, then you could play that game and try and get cheap PLS by liquidating people. But just note that the risk there is if in the process of doing that, you spook the market and people start panic selling, you might end up with a result that you were not expecting as the whale. So this is not risk-free, right? There's still like a possibility that you think that you're going to benefit from this financially, and it ends up being not to your financial benefit.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an awesome explanation, man. I probably just don't understand it that well, but thank you for clearing that up. And so one thing I was going to point out though, which is funny, Somi, shout out to Somi because he's a legend. Oh, and Somi had the reveal as well the other day. You can see his face now.
His first
out of control.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and he's a Chad as well. He's just like, oh, by the way, I'm also jacked, and I'm like a Chad. Like, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm also like full crypto nerd, but also, by the way, I'm jacked. I was like, that's wicked. So one thing, because I was just thought about it when you were saying about that Somi made this really good point that sometimes we think, oh, these whales are like playing, 40 chess and they're using bloody, tesseracts as gaming cubes. They're so smart. They're just like on another level. But then when in reality, like, this is an example of one of the whales. Well, but I think it was possibly like a dolphin or something, but one of their cells. So they just did a whole bunch of cells, bought back when it was on the dip, and then it went lower, and then they just sold massive bags. So like, what the hell? Like, that's just wrecked. Like,
yeah.
Isn't then maybe we're giving them too much credit? Is my point? Is that they're not always just doing these genius, 4D chess or something.
Someone came up with a redefinition, like a rewording these, instead of smart money and dumb money, it's emotional money is what people normally refer to as dumb money. And so it doesn't matter how big your bags are. It doesn't matter whether you work for a fund or whether if you've been in the game a long time. When you're making trades or making moves emotionally, then you are what people used to refer to as the dumb money.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because you've got to take the emotion out of it. And sometimes the emotion is counterintuitive. So like I've sort of made the joke in the past that, I've gone all in about 10 times. And it's like, sometimes it's like, if you've got this like, hedge bet or something on the side, and then you sort of think, now that the prices are dumping, like, I'm going to remove some of that hedge and actually buy the blood, because like that's what heroes do. Like, that's you buy the blood, you buy the depression, and there's a reason why you got like dip catcher and all these things. It's like you want to be buying when people are fearful. I mean, that's that old adage. But that's so counterintuitive, like emotionally, when you just like, oh, I'm so down and devastated. It's like, but I kind of feel like, now that I've been conditioned over so many years of this, it's kind of like, and I know that I'm not selling until say 2024, 2025. Every time it dips is more like an opportunity, to lower your average cost basis, if you know what I mean. So then you sort of get excited when you see it dump, because you think, oh, I mean, to an extent, I mean, I don't want to just be coping and say, I love it when the price is down, but there is an extent where you're kind of thinking, oh, there's a massive amount of blood in the water, like that's going to maximize my purchasing power for a DCA.
Yeah, well, everyone wants to see it go up, but then you lose your chance to buy in more. So everyone should just be taking advantage of it while you can, and make the most. It's a pretty good time. I've seen it as a blessing, the price coming down again.
Well, I mean, because I mentally was trying to sort of accumulate until the end of December anyway. I was like, trying to mentally picture this sort of halving year as being, a bullish year, and then, but knowing full well that December could be bad, but it could be an opportunity as well. It's the opportunity.
Yeah, our prices being down, like PulseChain and a lot of the other alts, is actually making me feel pretty good while I'm watching Bitcoin still be really strong, because it means there's a lot of confidence there, and it's just a matter of time before people start buying into the alts. Crypto's not dead. Bitcoin is powering at the
Exactly.
moment.
Oh, Bitcoin's going gangbusters, it's going awesome. And it just is sort of implies that, yeah, like you say, there's a healthy crypto industry that's out there. And yeah, there's no point FOMOing and chasing green candles. You know, accumulate and buy the blood and then just wait your turn. That's what I'm doing anyway. But yeah, we could maybe pull up some charts just quickly.
Yeah, I think even ETH has been starting to make a move to, where are we? Yeah, that started making a decent move to that.
For ETH to go up when there was so much uncertainty about whether the entire Web3 was going to collapse like a house of cards. That's pretty wild.
It just seems like the opposite happens every time, no matter what you think or the crowd thinks.
Yeah,
it seems to be the opposite.
Well, that's why, you know, if you don't be emotional and you just, like Tangent was saying, and you just kind of go, you know, look at this higher lows, higher highs, just busting out all the, and this is on the weekly, the 10 MA, 20 MA, 50, you know, they're all stacked. You know, we're just absolutely going off the charts here. So, and then if you look on the PLS sort of side of things, because if you're buying, like, so maybe you might see a correction with Bitcoin because it has been going so hyper parabolic at the moment. So really, do you want to be buying something that's due for a correction? Whereas when you're buying something that has just, you know, is finding support. Speaking of support, so this is the PLS. It's sort of almost got this wick down here, like a capitulation wick. Speaking of which, because when I was DCAing in, I was looking at the hex pulse ratio, and I was like, you know how I've sort of talked about this in previous streams where, like, when hex came out, it started to say 100 like PLS per hex, and then it went up to like 240. Now it's at 175, like that ratio, but it looked like it was kind of rolling over. But there was support at this 140 PLS per hex. Like this, I drew this line like a while back, and it just wicked down to there. Well, it might be hard to see that actually. I'll see if I can zoom in. But it just fully wicked down to it, almost as if someone had a, you know, a limit order or something in there where they thought that would be an awesome ratio to get in terms of hex, buying hex, and then
that's right.
Ride that ratio back
talking
up.
About limit orders. You started talking about limit orders. Have you actually used it yet?
I haven't, but I just watched an RH Max stream, literally like just before I came on. Shout out to RH Max. He's a Don. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I've got like a little on-stream wallet, like with some crumbs in it. Smart. And so yeah, you can basically, what I thought was cool about it was that you can stack your cells. So you can do like, so say, you know, you were selling whatever, it doesn't even matter. Like, let's just say, I've got a beer in one hand. I should fully put.
Wow, that's funny.
Uh-oh, crypto awesome. While drinking.
I know.
We're sending the wrong message down to the masses.
Well, this is why you should not take our advice, because I've literally got a beer in one hand while I was doing all that.
Do you remember
Sorry, go ahead.
Maffy said that he's like, yeah, you know, sometimes you'll have a couple of wines and then you go and try and transfer something and like, you just like fuck up a couple of tens of thousands of dollars, like send it to the wrong address. He's like, everyone's done that. And I'm like, bro, what? No one does that. Like, who has a couple of wines and then just like wrecks themselves 10 grand? Like, what?
Well, I mean, he was just, such a loose cannon, but also just so extremely wealthy.
He was loose.
I mean, yeah, so funny. I love that that song that you were talking about from the when Maffy did it with
Maffy John.
Yeah, that Maffy thing.
Don't fuck with my dogs, don't fuck with my dogs.
That is the best, man. That is a tune. That is a big time tune. Because I was thinking about that you know, By the Dip song, and they're like pouring around out for the homies and all that sort of thing. And you were like, check out the Maffy one. And that is a really cool song. But yeah, I love that documentary as well. He's just a funny guy. Do you think he faked his own death like for the second time? Like, do you think he's still, or do you reckon he was proper like murdered in jail?
Well, remember, Richard Hart thought that he might have, like, this will sound ridiculous, but like, well, actually, this word can't be said on YouTube. So, what's the?
Oh, okay, yeah. I know what you're saying.
What he like that it was like that, but for the lols, like that. he went out, but then made it look like a conspiracy to take him out for the lols.
Interesting.
Or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been anything really. It's one of those. It could have just been like autoerotic asphyxiation or something random or whatever. You know, you do a bloody Michael Hutchings.
Man, I hope he is on some island somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, as in, that would be great. Maybe one day we'll just be traveling around, like on private jets or yachts or whatever, and get to somewhere and just run into him and just be like, say what?
Yeah, that would be sick.
Yachts, something like that's happening now, isn't it? With your yacht tangent, it's got wheels.
Oh yeah, that's right. They've got these memes. Just for clarity, it's not actually my token. It's a community token, like the original one. But there's these derivative meme coins that I'm a fan of all of them. Actually, by the way, there's now 3 derivative meme coins that surround that yacht community. So like 4 in total if you include yacht itself. And the latest one has just got literally the craziest memes I've ever seen of any meme coin. That one's called Bow. And it's like, they've done this like Titanic. It's bow as in like the bow of the ship. And so they've got all this this Titanic vibe, like all the Titanic stuff is like incorporated into it. And then for some reason, and because it's called Bow Rider, they've made it like low riders. And so they've like low ridered the ship. So the ship is like on wheels like a low rider. It's just the whole thing is hilarious.
So good.
Yeah, shout out to the Tang Gang for sure. I always think those guys are hilarious. And Bullish has been helping Claz with. She's doing an NFT thing as well.
Claz is part of Free Mint Friday tonight, like our night, Australian night.
She's doing this Vitruvian collection. Yeah,
we should shout this out. So basically, shout out to Free Mint Friday, nice. Shout out to Bullish, shout out to the Tang Gang. Tonight Australian time, but it'll be. I don't even know what time it is. I guess it's like during the afternoon or something on a.
I think it says here 14 hours. Yeah, so
basically, I think it's around kind of midday if you're EST in the States, and it's around like in the AMs if you're in Australia. And this week there's three artists. So J Money's got a collection that you can mint for free as long as you're holding HOA and NWO, which is a coin that he's involved in, and also a crypto bum, which is the NFT that represents ownership of the whole NFT on Pulse ecosystem, which also covers Pulse and all of that. So it's quite a well-known ecosystem within PulseChain. I
like NFT on Pulse. I think
NFT
that's a really nice info. I think it's cool. I really like that.
Yeah. So he's made. I like the prerequisites that he's created for that collection, and that collection kind of like ties into the lore of New World Orange NWO, and then we've got Crypto Class's collection, which is also going to be awesome. And then there's another collection that's on. I think is it the artists from PP? Let me just double check that. But basically, what Bullish has said is that if you think about it, it's kind of like almost like an all hexagon lineup. This particular Free Mint Friday, all the artists are like well known within the Hex community. So if you're in the Hex community, definitely, and if you haven't been to a Free Mint Friday before, this is definitely the one to come to and support. I'm going to have to do some real crazy shit with my sleep pattern. I think I'm going to have to sleep before and after the mint to try and get there, because I really want to be there since it's Class's thing. If I'm not there, it means I've slept through an alarm. And
no dramas.
I did get a sneak preview of the artwork that Klaz is doing in her collection, and it's really, really good. What else can we say about that?
So this looks like it here. So if you go to hexoacoin.com and you go to more, and then it's got the upgoing collections. So NWO, Time Travelers, Lotharius, the Hex King, Vitruvian is Klaz's one, and NFTs by Mana. So Mana's got some really cool stuff as well. So
no,
check that stuff out.
Sorry, no. That Mana's one was meant to be on Tuesday that just passed. It got delayed because of all this vulnerability stuff. So she's not going to do that until she gets back from Art Basel. So she's in Miami at the moment.
Gotcha.
By the way,
no drama.
Just to give some context of how epic the level is in the Tang Gang. We've got two artists. One of them is Mana, who has a piece that is going to be auctioned. So she does this like VR, AR art. A piece of hers is going to get auctioned off at a starting price of $10,000 in the Miami Art Basel thing. She got commissioned to do the art piece for this company that does VR, AR stuff. Yep.
Awesome. So, that's cool.
And it's gonna. I think that's gonna be a similar style to her Pulse Cats, which is what was meant to be phase 2 of that mint was meant to be on Tuesday. It's now postponed. And we've also got DGen Waffles in our community, who was featured. He had the largest feature piece of one of his punks in when Beeple created and launched his new studio. And Beeple's known for having the most expensive NFT to have ever sold, which was sold at Christie's for something like over $60 million. It still holds the record for the most expensive. Yeah, still holds the record for the most expensive NFT ever sold. And we've also got other amazing artists, too many to list, notably Fully Croissant, who created these robots that are like 3D that use AI that we'll be able to use in the metaverse. So it's crazy levels of talent. And so these Free Mint Fridays are not only an opportunity for other artists to showcase their talent, but also their ability to show that they want to lean into the Tang Gang, they want to get involved. And then typically, so that's the free mints. And then typically on Saturdays and Tang Tuesdays, so we have Sucker Free Saturday and Tang Tuesday, where we usually have the paid mints for the artists that are doing those sorts of collections.
That's awesome. Look, I think it's really good to support artists. I think it's one of those things that in our society, we don't value artists enough. And it's like, without the art, like, it would be a pretty sad existence. So it's important.
Said forever that the artists, and this is all industries, right? Photography, modeling, music, graphic design, fine art like painting, all artistic industries are constantly getting abused and used for their talent while someone else makes the bank. Some VC or some business owner or some venture capitalist, someone
like music record companies. Record companies, a classic example.
Record companies is the perfect example of how much these artists. And so even artists who you see where you're like, they must be giga rich because they're fully famous, depending on whether or not they signed a bad contract, could be the difference between them actually being rich and them still being like pleb level. So this is one thing that crypto can do, is to basically put the control back in the artists so they can own all their own shit and actually make some decent money off their talent.
Yeah.
We
that's
actually
awesome.
had a music
and
artist.
It's so true because I saw that one.
We had an artist, and this was a particularly potent example because this guy was actually getting his music banned, like it was being censored in the US because it's horror metal. It's a heavy metal genre, like subgenre.
I love horror metal.
Horror metal, and so he was getting censored.
I've seen some heavy bands, man. I've seen Cannibal Corpse. I've seen Carcass. I've seen a few bands that are like intense.
Yeah.
And you see the guys. I've actually met them. I met the guys from Obituary, and they're nice guys. Like super chill. We went backstage with them and stuff, and it's like people can't tell the difference between horror and like reality. It's like, oh my god, they've got lyrics or whatever that are whatever, and it's like it's a theme. Like they're trying to get attention. They're not serial killers.
You go and watch horror movies, right? Like you play GTA. You know the difference between reality and right But then for
if you
some
can't
weird
tell the
reason,
difference
people just
between that, then that's
like
the
people
problem.
just selectively go, oh no, if you're singing about it, then now it's a problem. What?
Yeah, I wasn't going to murder someone, but now that I've heard this song,
Same with
it's like,
Eminem,
are you
early
serious?
Eminem,
People are not
early
retarded.
Eminem days, like in terms of how much heat he copped. It's like, dude, like
Yeah,
you know the difference between someone actually going and doing something and someone singing
and
about it, right?
It's shock value
Yeah.
as well, right? Like that's they do that because it's just shock value. It's just like the same as you see, you know, crypto influencers come out with all this clickbait or anywhere you see. They don't necessarily mean it, but they're trying to get you to watch the show, like Ivan or whatever. It's like, and then if you realize that, hang on, these are actually down to earth people, but they're just trying to shock you into like paying attention. That's the currency, is the attention.
Yeah. Dude, I always laugh when Ivan says his channel's family friendly while he's in the middle of saying shit that's completely not family friendly.
Well, I don't think I've ever said this channel's family friendly, so I think we're all good. One thing I was going to point out, which was a good comment by Wall to Wall, can't DCA small amounts because of gas fees. Now, I know that on the Ethereum side, the gas has been terrible. And I mean, PulseChain solves this, but I know in terms of bridging in and things like that is a bit of an issue. But one thing is that Coast has just released I think it's gasless
Coast is so dope.
on-ramp.
You can DCA now amounts. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so I think you've got to do all the KYC.
Or they just said it's coming?
No, literally like the other day.
Until 31st of December at the moment. They've dropped the fees. And it's gasless.
Yes.
I think it's gasless transactions probably for good. But the discounted fees, it's 75% cheaper to do the onboard from onto Coast. So
I can get that discount if you hold weight. You can actually get that. So they're basically just giving you the maximum discount that you would normally need to hold the weight tokens. They're just giving it to everyone. Is that the deal?
It. Yep.
Okay.
So they announced that a day after I onboarded some fiat and went through the ETH and all that and spent all that on gas fees when the gas was high. And then they announced that. Oh, well, let's go again and get some. Yeah. Anyway.
Do you know what? This is the problem. This is the problem for everyone. It's like if you like say you've got a shop and you put some items on sale, you're always going to have the person that bought the day before or like the day after the sale ends. You know what I mean? It's just it's unfortunate, but it's just part of the luck of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So check out Coast on Twitter. But it's literally just like app.0xcoast.com, and you can do gasless fiat on ramp.
Gasless.
And gasless. So there's not like you can basically just exchange your USD for Pulse and whatever, and you pay a 0.25% fee, I think, but you're not like bridging in, like you're not paying like an Ethereum gas fee. I think that's the gasless part. KDP did a thing about it as well.
Okay. So
shout
it's
out to her.
I mean, from USD to either weight, PulseX or Hex, but I'm not sure what the actual price of the tokens are when you do that swap. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what DEX they're using or aggregator or whatever. So you might not be getting the best deal when you do it directly on the Coast site. You might be better off bridging straight into PulseChain and doing it that way.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've used the TokenSex bridge as well. Have you seen token? Oh god. So if you go to pulsechain.com, I should mention a couple of things. So if you go to the bridge site, right down the bottom, community sites, Token Express. So it's tokensex.link. That's the one. I've used this. It's got the contract address, like the default is the wrapped Pulse on the Ethereum side. So you can just buy that on Uniswap and then just bridge it in and it will unwrap to Pulse. So that's an easy one. But one thing I was just going to point out is, you know how these IPF links went down during the week. They're now back up. So this is a different one, bridge.mypinata.cloud. But if you do have problems with this, sometimes, you can get it blocked by your antivirus and things like that. There are ways that you can host the IPFS node on your Brave browser. So I'll just see if I can pull this up. So I've got, yeah, okay, cool. So if I open this is just a Brave browser, and you go to the 3 lines up the top and go to settings. If you go to Web3 and you click, so under IPFS, you go to Brave local IPFS node. So I think the default is that it's like ask and it has a different gateway. But if you go like local node, then when you go to any of these sites, so say you go to PulseX, if the link is not down, so if the link is down or whatever, you can just get this hash, copy it, and then put in, IPFS : / and then that hash I just copied, and that will basically go straight there using the gateway that's hosted, like the node that's hosted locally on your through your Brave browser. So cool. Yeah, hopefully cool. That was a good way to explain it.
You can also use Rabby to launch, to like add the thingos. By the way, that website you just had up before, that hexoacoin.com has got all of, they host all the front ends. So for people that are slack or don't want to have to think, you can literally go to all the different bridge, PulseX, the scanner, all that stuff can be accessed through that, which is like hosted by the Tangang or maintained by the Tangang in terms of, I'm not sure exactly where it's hosted.
Sorry, it's slowing everything down. I might have to just stop it. But
yeah, it's all good. You don't have to pull it up. I just thought I'd let everyone know. I think that's
sorry,
that's
bro.
what
I think
I
I
use.
just got...
Oh, you're on a delay. Like you're
delayed,
on a...
yeah. So while you're
that's
talking,
awesome. Yeah, so there's lots.
Dude, the delay
lots
is
of options,
heavy,
I guess.
bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, man. I had way too many tabs open. All right, hopefully it's fixed now. But yeah, there's lots of options, like you say. Yeah, the Hexaway, they've got the links. There was the Go Real DeFi thing that RH had. You can just run the executables, so have your local server. And then so, yeah, I was doing that as well. I was bridging in, just ran the Xe. And I think that is probably the most, decentralized, most censorship resistant way to do it. It's just to run it locally from the, from your desktop.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
But yeah, so there's definitely lots of options. So in terms of like the gas fees being high, check out Coast if that's an issue. Let's have a look in the chat, see what else is going on. Finbear's talking about his chickens, as you do. They looked at him like he was Tone Vase. Yeah, there's a few comments here.
Oh yeah, there's actually a Bitcoin conference going on at the moment.
Oh man, this is going really slow. Watching. I hope this is not my connection.
Yeah, I think we've got a major delay between us, but the Bitcoin conference I think is worth watching. It's had some great speeches already. I watched day one.
That's cool. Have to have a watch of that. Hey, while you're talking about like Ruby Wallet,
cool man, cool. So yeah, there's been heaps of stuff going on. I'm sorry that my computer is so wrecked.
I'm starting to wonder if it's me.
I think it's Dozer.
Man, I'm just closing everything down now.
Yeah.
Sorry, bros. I had like 2 browsers going. All right. Hopefully that's fixed it. I've just closed down everything.
I can see it even in your video is like maybe even down res your video. Like I actually typically run mine. Sorry guys. Sorry everyone for doing the Uber thing, but I run mine at 480 rather than 720 because it's like people can see enough of you to get like your expression and shit like that. They don't need to see you in high res. Like only Richard Hart needs to come to you in 4K. And so that helps a lot because that's like quite a drain on the data.
Hey, got a question while are we back in line now? On the wallets.
I think we're all good now. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Have you played with Internet Money Wallet yet? I was in on that space they had the other day. It's looking, I'd like to try and support them if I can. But yeah, just wondering if you have had a chance.
Yeah, same. Shout them out. Shout them out.
Yeah, no, looks like what they're doing is really good. And they've got it's not like it's not a DEX aggregator, but when you go to do a swap on there, it just brings up all of your options and you can choose where you want to go through, like the route. So I reckon you can get obviously you can get your best deal by choosing it. It's not providing you with an aggregated deal. It's just that, this is the best route. But yeah, I want to give it a crack and just try and support him. Rabbi's good, but I might do some other stuff with the Internet Money as well, because KG is awesome.
Yeah.
I love his enthusiasm and his respect for everyone when they've got questions and all that. I think they do a really good job.
Yes.
Hopefully support's there as well. So yeah. No, I think it'll
absolutely.
be good.
They also, so consider if you want a mobile wallet, Rabbi doesn't have mobile. So for those of you who love Rabbi, it is a really good wallet. If you're on mobile, Internet Money is great. They've also got that thing, like you were just saying, it's not technically an aggregator. It just actually looks at each of the things individually. However, included in that list is DEX aggregators. So Patias is one of the ones on the list. So you're getting an option there, which is DEX aggregation, and then you'll see if something. So it provides you with the equivalent of you going and opening up 5 different tabs and looking to try and find the best deal. This is that in one interface. So even if you're not even using it as a wallet and you're just literally using it as a tool to do that function for you, it's valuable just in that sense, like in its own right. So I agree. KG's work rate is absolutely insane. It's PulseChain first. It's PulseChain native. It's the only native PulseChain wallet, Web3 wallet. And I'm definitely keen to also support them.
Yeah, awesome.
Pretty good too, I think. Yeah, be good if everyone gets involved and supports it as much as we can. So.
Yeah, and so there's also this Pulse wallet that's coming out, but it's not out yet, though, is it?
I did hear something about that.
I think 43 was talking about that. So
yeah, it's because the thing that got me excited was they said something about privacy. They said they were going to do some ZK privacy thing. I'm always excited about privacy shit.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see when that comes out.
Hey, do you want to bring up? Is it Logi? Yeah, that one.
Yep, I was just going to say this is a good one, and possibly Tangent might be able to answer this more eloquently than I can. But the real DeFi thing. I mean, this is basically what a few people have coined, their Hex and RH sort of ecosystem to be, because I think if we can get it, and there's some teething problems at the moment, but if we can get it to the point where you can run a server locally, like for a DEX, for a bridge, you've got IPFS links, you've got all these options. It's the censorship resistance, which is like the tenet and the ethos of crypto, what it should be about anyway. I think that's the difference, because if you've got sort of fake DeFi where you've got, like, say, Uniswap, they're censoring contracts because they're worried about the SEC, and even though simultaneously they're also got a shit ton of like actual scams on there, then they're sort of bowing down to the corrupt sort of legacy systems, and that's not really what crypto's about. So that's my take on it anyway, is real DeFi shouldn't be censorable. But yeah, what do you think, Tangent?
The fact that we even need that term real DeFi points to the fact that the original iteration, or what most people use, is fake as fuck, right? So it should be the other way around. DeFi should be the term that
it should
just means what it says. It's decentralized finance. And then the other shit is like fake as fuck, or, to be more fair, like to be more kind, less than ideal or less than perfectly decentralized finance, right? So like choose your prefix. But I guess the term has arisen for people trying to highlight the difference between something like Hex, which, like I said earlier in the stream, DeFi primitive, actually trustless, that sort of thing, compared to these sort of Dino, like decentralized in name only. And we all agree it's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum to decentralization, but there's some stuff that you can just point to it and just be like, that's a major fail, right?
Like if there's middlemen involved, if there's middlemen involved, and that, and so say with Machinsky's, the Celsius stuff and things like that, where they've got custody of your coins, and then they're doing some DeFi inverted commas, and then they're giving it back to you if they want to. Is that what you're sort of saying? Like that,
exactly.
Like that's fake as shit compared to like just doing it on chain yourself and doing yield farming or whatever, but you're always in custody of the keys that control those coins.
Yeah. I saw an amazing tweet that basically outlined what all the cypherpunk ideals that Bitcoin stood for at the start. And this was actually an attack on where Bitcoin is going. It was a commentary saying, I don't like where the guy was saying, I don't like where Bitcoin's going. I don't like this Bitcoin 2.0. Bitcoin was meant to get rid of VCs and that sort of shit. Bitcoin was supposed to be censorship resistant, and we're starting to see these things creep in, which are actually go against those core critical ideals of the original project. But I think those same criticisms can be largely aimed at a lot of stuff in the crypto space. So this is nothing new to us in the Hex community, and we just have to keep fighting for. We have to keep reminding everyone what the mission statement is, what the point of what we're doing here. So there's fun along the way, right? The Tangang really highlights that. There's heaps of fun to be had. This doesn't need to be. This doesn't need to be war room, super serious 100% of the time. But we do need to occasionally remind ourselves what the point is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think censorship resistance is huge because you don't know what they'll choose to target next. That's one thing that I've always thought. And so we're kind of lucky in a sense that we've maybe got in before they really start to clamp down, because I can sort of foresee that happening in the future where they're going to make it really difficult so if they put in enough roadblocks to sort of say, oh, you can need to put limits on how much you can put into an exchange, or there's only so much you can withdraw and all this sort of stuff. And then they go, oh, but here we've got this ETF that you can just buy it like, fake Bitcoin on the stock exchange. Then it's like, then they control it.
Yep.
So
yeah, the ETF was one of their examples that they were saying. They were like, look at this shit. And you sort of start leaning back towards like custodial solutions. And unfortunately, it's a combination of convenience. So people being slack and people and fear narratives. Oh, you might lose your coins. Oh, you might be, if we don't do this, you might be funding something that you don't believe, that you don't want to fund. And so it's this weird stuff where you have to just continually being like snapping back to reality and being like, wait a second, this is all not the point. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm in it for the jet skis and the yachts and all that stuff. I'm not gonna lie, but it's also like the thing that gets you into crypto to start with, I think, is always that you're sort of,
that's the bait and switch.
Just sort of disgusted at the current state of the legacy finance sort of system, and banks and things like that. They're just despicable. I can't think of a better word, but so, but it's good that we can get some yachts and some jet skis along the way. So why not?
Yeah, the term has been diluted so much, like DeFi to real DeFi. Now we've got to call it real, because it's like, even like the term, I don't know, it's probably a bad analogy, but people saying, literally or literally, it's like that's been diluted.
Yes.
Now. So you have to put another word in front of it, like actual, literally. Like it, it's just, people are just using it and abusing it. Can I just say one thing about what Finbear's saying about onboarding with fiat to internet money and all that? I don't know if he can get Coast, but this goes with the whole thing of censorship resistance as well. is that when you onboard to Coast, technically you're doing a bank transfer. You're sending money to another account. You're not sending money to an exchange or anything involved with crypto. That's how it looks to the banks. So yeah, you're doing a wire transfer or some other kind of transfer. So there's a lot of censorship resistance with that as well, because you're basically transferring money to another place, and then from there it goes towards Coast and gets onboarded. So it's just a really
good point.
Yeah, looking at it.
So yeah, that's awesome. That helps a lot when the accounts are all in your name. So it's like, if the question arises, where were you sending the money to, or where did you receive the money from? It's like, myself is technically the answer, and it's technically true because the account is in your name, and it makes a big difference, because then it's like, you don't need to worry about whether the person that I was sending or receiving the funds with is a bad person, because you're already doing business with me, and that guy's the same guy. It's also me. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're transferring from like even with crypto, if you're going from wallets that you own to wallets you own, there's no tax implications there as well. Whereas if you're sending it to a bridge, and then you're effectively doing a sale, and there's tax stuff. So Bridge has also got here, Coast transfers are fast, same day, took 24 hours, and that's presumably from the US as well. So that's unreal. Yeah, I got a little bit scared off by the whole putting the tax file number thing in, and the whole KYC and all that sort of stuff, because I was concerned that if they're getting multiple reports from me putting in using like Coinly or some sort of tax accounting software, and then they're also getting data from somewhere else, then you could get conflicting data. But I think in terms of just bridging it in, and it's a pretty straightforward process anyway, so there's unlikely that there's going to be a disparity between those transactions.
Yeah, it's definitely a barrier that made me hesitate as well. Having your information on a couple of another exchange or something, and then having another place to do that with, that was probably the thing that took me the longest to get through. And then I was like, made the move in the end.
I actually had this weird realization at one point where, so I had this aversion to anything KYC, right? Just because I've had bad experiences with exchanges in the past where they've switched the KYC on without warning you, and you're like, dude. So, but my point is that, so I'm just like, whenever I hear KYC, I'm like, no, I'm out. I'm not going to support anything that does KYC. And then I realized that with Coast, because it's one step away from your bank account, you're KYC'd anyway, right? So I had this weird realization where I'm like, hang on a second, this one doesn't matter. This one's actually okay to KYC, because
it's going to your bank account anyway.
A step away, it's already linked to my identity anyway. So obviously there's a subtlety there that this is another entity that then, but you know what I mean? It's
and because they will then probably report. Yeah.
So
look, man, I think it's awesome.
I use Coast now for personal and business, and it's great. It's absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. That's wicked. That's good to hear, man. That's good endorsement, because
there's lots of personal accounts and business accounts. Yep.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, there's so much going on.
Is self-managed super funds at the moment.
Oh, okay.
That might change. But for at the moment, it's just personal or business. But if you've got a self-managed super fund and you want to use it for that, sorry, so that's specific to Australia. So I don't know, other countries might be fine. But if you're in Australia and you want to use it for a self-managed super fund, at the moment, that's not available.
Gotcha. I was just laughing at Hexon's this comment about the Commodores doing burnout in Bogan areas.
Single peggers. Yeah.
That absolutely happens. Absolutely happens. I still do.
With a good burnout.
I was on a Twitter space, and someone was like driving around here like a fucking hoon. They could hear it on the Twitter space. They thought it was a motorbike.
That's awesome.
It was a car just ripping.
So it's just doing doughies.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's how we do it down in the land down under.
Look, basically, that's how you know it's Friday Arvo. For me, when I used to work on Fridays, which I don't anymore, it would get to about this time, and you just start hearing burnouts down the street. And I'll be like, oh shit, it must be Friday, literally just on cue.
Yeah,
just like,
fuck like this. A rooster waking you up. It's like your Friday signal.
Yeah, like I would just be like, what? I can hear burnouts. And then you'd be like, is it Friday Arvo? Oh, it fully is. Like,
but it must be less now, right? It must be less now.
Well, so where I work was sort of an industrial area. So I think those guys were just basically like, when you leave work for the week and you're giving the work the bird, and as you go, yeah, fuck you, and then they're doing massive burnouts, and there's like a roundabout, and it's classic. But I could literally on cue every Friday.
Serious laws against that shit, where you can get your car crushed and shit. If you're doing burnouts, they can fucking confiscate your car, crush your car.
Yeah, well, I suppose so. I mean, it wasn't me doing them. I'm just saying, like,
no.
I was like, burnouts. Burnouts are good.
I encourage people to do it if you've got the
balls.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying they really do take that shit very seriously now. So the lads having some fun is
I know on a Friday Arvo. At the end of the day, it's their rubber, like that they're burning, like on their
exactly.
Tires.
What's the worst that's going to happen is they're going to like slide into a pole or pop a tire,
fuck their own car up.
It's the risk is mainly to them. It's not like
they're going like 5Ks an hour while they're doing the burnout. It's not like
it's super slow speed. It's low speed shit. It's like low risk, low speed shit.
They're crunching down on people doing that, but they're happy with everyone driving mindlessly on their phones, looking at their lap while they're driving. It's bloody crazy.
Yeah, that's hectic.
They incentivize people basically to use their phones while you're driving because they bust you so heavily. The way that they catch people typically is they get police on motorbikes and they lane split down in red lights because people fuck around with their phones while they're waiting for the lights to change. And so people are like, well, if I'm going to get busted and find the same amount if using it at a traffic light, it's less likely I'm going to get busted like that if I'm moving. And obviously this is ridiculous logic, like as it's highly dangerous. But they're basically incentivizing people to use their phones when you're in motion because of the way that they're finding people when they're stationary, which is fucking bonkers.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I was just going to point out that there is heaps of stuff cooking, and
so much cooking.
I noticed that PulseX has also integrated 9mm V3 pools.
V3 baby, and InvestX. That's another PulseChain first resource for you guys.
I did hear you talk about that on the
it's basically
from the
a
other
deck
day.
screener, and this might have to actually be my outro, guys, because it's been an hour. But basically, InvestX is basically a PulseChain focused version of deck screener. It still has all the major chains that you want to see. It's got all the functions that you're expecting to see, like multi-charts and all of that stuff. In my opinion, it's actually better in a lot of ways because it's got better color schemes. Everything's more clear and shit like that. They lean heavily into the Tangang. That's not the only reason why I'm promoting them. 9mm, another amazing protocol. Again, Tangang affiliated. They're the first to bring native, they're the first to bring V3 LPs that were not just simply forked over and not supported, right? So some people made the argument, V3 has already been on PulseChain since the start. It's like, but no one's maintaining it, no one's using it. The ratios are all fucked. No one's providing liquidity. It's a joke.
All those pools got drained anyway. Yeah,
everything got drained. It's all out of ratio. It's all wrecked, right? So so this is the first real V3 that we've had. 9mm are doing it, and so InvestX have already supported the V3 pool, so you can see those pairs on their data. PulseX has also rushed and not rushed, like they've carefully but quickly as possible incorporated that into their smart routing paths.
That's awesome.
And so the last time that I did this shout out, I got my ass handed to me for not also mentioning the Pussycat Farms, which is called the Orange Grove. And so that's not related to this V3 thing, but it's another protocol that's like quite incredible. That's also, that lean quite heavily into the Tangang. So all of this stuff, even like, Liquid Loans has just released recently, their loan token and their stable coin both have quite a lot of liquidity and volume happening on 9 mil V3. So like V3 is lethal because it's so much more efficient that it's estimated to be tens of times more efficient, right? And that's not even including that's not even including stablecoin to stablecoin pairs where you can basically put the range on a few percent away, right? It's 30 to 50 times more efficient on ones where you actually have to have quite a broad range to account for volatility. And then it's many times more efficient again once you narrow that down on something like stable to stable, where you know it's only going to be fluctuating in that range. So it's absolutely insane. It's going to be effectively a gravity well for all of the liquidity and all of the volume really over time. And you can already see that starting to happen. Crazy amounts of volume proportional to the TVL. So they actually have more volume on their exchange now than the amount that's actually of TVL that's in the liquidity pools, just because of that efficiency. And when you've got smart routers like Patia's, they're going to look for that efficiency to give you the best deal. So even if you don't want to use, it or you don't want to think about it, you're going to be using these V3 pools, or you're going to be getting a worse deal. So it's quite incredible to see all of these things come together. I call it my tech stack. They're the protocols and websites that I use to make sure that I have a good time. And all the best ones that I enjoy using pretty much are either directly Tangang or indirectly Tangang affiliated. So I recommend going to that site that Dozer had up before. It will give you the information about Free Mint Friday. It'll give you the information about Clazz's collection and other NFT collections that have been released through the Tangang. It really is a very valuable resource that Bullish has put a lot of time into maintaining that website and making sure that information is up to date. You've got access to all the front ends, all these IPFS front ends that Richard, whoever is in control of those domains, took down all the front ends. Now you've got them through hexoacoin.com, and all the access to all the other stuff that I just mentioned, like 9 Mil, Pussycat Farms, all of that shit comes through. You can go through that website. Or if you want the information about Free Mint Friday, you can come to the Tangang Telegram. And it has been really, really fun chatting with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really good to meet you, Hex enthusiasts. Really appreciate that shit.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on, man.
And hopefully I'll see a lot of you in the Twitter space that we'll be running for Free Mint Friday in, what is it, like just under 12 hours? It's like 10 hours from now.
That'd be sick. That'd be cool, man.
The Twitter space always starts at least half an hour before the first Free Mint. So if you see the countdown timers on the website, that will be it'll be earlier than that countdown timer, because we need a little bit of time to just warm everyone up and like get the vibes there and describe what's going on before the actual Free Mints drop. By the way, there was a guy that said that he participated in all the Free Mints and has made over 40 million polls from just doing Tangang Free Mints and then selling them on secondary for like small amounts of PLS. Like, now, obviously, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into doing something like that, because you've got to show up, mint for free, get the mints, be fast on the trigger, and then you've got to like go to all the effort of working out what price you think you can get for it, listing the free mint, stuff like that. So this is not like he didn't just click one button, get 40 mil free PLS. I don't want to make it sound like that, but there's literal free like there's valuable shit.
Value. Oh yeah, that's nothing to be sneezed at for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So cheers guys. Have a great
Friday.
Worries.
Thanks for coming on, Tangent. Appreciate all your insights. Have a good weekend. Cheers, bro.
You too. See you both.
Thanks, mate. That was cool. Tangent, just heaps of info there.
Yeah, no, exactly. Sorry. I was going to ask him about what you need to be eligible for the free mint. Is it the HOA 69,420 tokens? Maybe someone can comment on that, but for those playing at home,
there might be someone in the chat.
There's nothing worse than you get to somewhere, you get to one of those sort of like events in crypto, and then you all of a sudden you don't have the gas or you don't have the tokens that you need or whatever. So good to be prepared. That's all for sure.
Yeah, I mean, probably best thing is to just check out the Telegram and hit the guys up in there. But yeah, I guess like just to reiterate what Tangent was talking about there. So, you know, hexoacoin.com, and then you can go to the More tab, and then you've got the free mints, the upcoming collections here.
Yep.
And there's all the other stuff that you're talking about, like, you know, to access the IPFS stuff, how to buy. Oh, this is that InvestX that he was talking about. So we should check that out. I haven't actually used that before. What other stuff is here? But yeah, oh yeah, cool. So it's basically like a deck screener, it looks like, and yeah, it looks pretty standard, like what we're used to. PulseChain. Oh, okay, cool. So it's got all the chains. Yeah, I mean, people can check that stuff out. Oh, so I normally check about liquidity.
So I think the main thing that they're focusing on as well is keeping PulseChain at the top. So it's actually PulseChain based with the option of the other chains, rather than, you know, deck screener.
Yeah, sure.
Ranks them differently. So it shows them by rank. Yeah, so it's good.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check this out, man. I haven't played with this a lot, but I like the tickers at the top. And yeah, it looks like it's got gas in terms of beats, and there's some other cool stuff. Yeah. All right, cool. So one thing I was just going to talk about before we wrap it up is that this Tetra limit orders thing is really cool. It's got this multi-swap thing where you can sort of just go whatever, if you were selling or whatever, swapping in this case PLS, PLSX, and Hex, and then it's going to,
I love the idea of that
token. And then you can do like multi-token sell for a single buy. So I guess it's more gas efficient, I guess, which is maybe not a huge deal on PulseChain at the moment, but it's just easier, I guess.
Time efficient.
But the thing,
how many can you do at once? Like, how many sells can you do? Does it have you can do a few. So you could even do that if you had like if you had a heap of dust or something. Or is that all of them now? Or can you keep adding?
I think I've got 5. I can sell 5 and then into one.
Man, there is so much stuff being built. It's
bro, I'm keen about this limit orders, right? Let me tell you why. So you know how I was talking, and hopefully, you know, I don't want to open too many tabs again and wreck it like before. But so if you're looking at, say, Hex versus Pulse, in like Hex in Pulse terms, and I was saying about how it wicked down to about 140. Yeah. Like if you thought that was a good buy, right, as a ratio of like, you know, 140 pulse per hex, you know, you could put in a limit order, and so that say you're buying Hex, and I haven't played with this much. Also, so this is selling Pulse to buy Hex, right? And then you can set, so say whatever, I'm just going to put in some numbers, and then so you can use this slider to sort of say at 30% better than market. So you could work out what the ratio is that you want to get.
Yep.
And then when it hits that ratio, then the limit order executes. And then you could set that expiration to be like whatever, 3 months. So that way you can capitalize on when the ratio, you think that the ratio has bottomed out. Like if you think that, you know, a good ratio to swap, like, and obviously this is not with like your entire stack, but this is like if you wanted to do something with some liquid and you wanted to trade between Hex and Pulse, you could trade at a ratio, like if it was ranging between, like, as this, for an example, 140 pulse per hex to 240 pulse per hex, you could literally put in a swap for pulse into Hex at 140 pulse per hex, and then swap it back into Pulse at 240 pulse per hex, and you end up with more pulse. You know what I mean?
You could pretty much keep playing that game, just bouncing to and fro, because a lot of people believe that's what's going to happen. So
if it is ranging between them, and if you believe in this bonded liquidity aspect,
that's right.
I mean, if you look at these pairs, let's have a look in terms of liquidity. there's $6.3 million each in these pools. So that's not insignificant. Like that's not, yeah, it's significant. Double negative. But it's like, we're not talking 10 grand worth of liquidity or whatever. This is 6.3 mil on each side of that pair. So sometimes you see some dexes and things or whatever, and it's like, oh, there's 100 grand here or even 10 grand. And that's like 10 grand wouldn't even show up as a decimal on this. Like this is a few orders of magnitude higher. So if you think that the price is range bound and you think that there's the liquidity bonding, that they're both going to sort of go up together, but the ratio between them may alter slightly, then you could choose a limit order where you say you're buying 100 pulse per hex here. You could put in a limit order there and then hope that that ratio changes over time, and then you can buy your hex back, knowing that they're both going to move together. That's my point. Yep. So that's kind of cool in terms of like, you're not just like, you could obviously just do it in terms of like making a buy. Like if you were putting in like DAI and then you're looking at this is the current market price. If you're spending like $1,000 and you wanted to get, 114,000 hex, but if you put in a limit order 20% below that price, you would get 136,000 hex. If it hit that, if the price dipped and it wicks down, you could be asleep and it's going to just pick up that 20% dip automatic. So I think that's awesome. And I mean, there's obviously going to be some arbitrage of opportunities as well. Like now we've got, so between DAI and USDC, so there's like $1 difference over $1,000. So 0.1% difference, so big players can sort of arb these if the price went, if they started to depeg. If you thought that it was going to, I think it's called a mean reversion when if you think that they're going to repeg at some point, then you're playing on that mean reversion idea that you would set a limit order so that if USDC does depeg from DAI, then you just basically, and then it repegs, you just made $50.
Or you could be the OA and make a cool few mil on a stable coin swap. Not bad. Yeah,
exactly. That's what that was the gamble that the OA did when USDC pegged. Sorry, was it USDC? Was it USDC that depegged? I can't remember, but I think it was. Yeah. And so the OA capitalized that. It went down to like 90 cents, and then it swapped a bunch of DAI into USDC, waited for it to go back up. And so now that we've got, your audio's gone. Oh no, you're back. I was just saying now that we've got CST. You can't hear me? Okay, I can hear you if that helps. But so we've got CST as a stable coin. We've got USDL. We're going to have that PXDC, which is the Power City one. Obviously DAI, USDC, USDT. So with all these stable coins, there will be some ARB opportunities, and there might be some other protocols that can take advantage of that stuff in the future. But it looks like Hex Enthusiast has lost his hearing. That's cool. I was pretty much going to wrap it up anyway. So I'll just say shout out to the chat. Thanks to Logi33 for the questions, Clintrons, all the guys in the chat, Finbear, of course. And yeah, have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And we'll catch you next time on the Happy Hour. Thanks, guys.